today a little bit about the APQS hopping foot attachment kit you can get with your George. It comes with 3 other hopping feet in it, a little snipper, very nice, some extra screws for the hopping foot connector, and a couple of the little, doodads, for lack of a better word, that help you unscrew the hex screws that are in there. Today I'm going to be showing you the high hopping foot that's closed because one of the concerns that people might have is whether or not on the sit down George you can do the modern quilting straight lines that you see in a lot of the quilts. And I'm showing you several of my quilts right now that have the straight line quilting, and I can assure you that the George can do this. The one thing I do have is a long arm ruler that is for straight edge quilting. Now there are several companies that do make these rulers. The one that I have happens to be from Handy Gadgets. I did put some sticky things on the back just to keep it from sliding around too much when you push down. The thing is that you want to remember going from a domestic to the sit-down George is that when you're doing ruler work, you have to make sure that you have at least a good 1/4 inch ruler. Long arm rulers tend to come standard 1/4 inch. That's because you don't want the hopping foot to go over this and get caught. So just pretty much search on Google for any long arm straight edge quilting ruler, and that should work for you. Up next, I'll be showing you how you actually use the ruler at your George. Hi there. We're at our sit-down George machine now. I have a little sample quilt sandwich put together, and I'm going to be showing you how to use your straight line ruler to do the straight line quilting for modern quilts. I have my high closed hopping foot on, which means that I have a good 1/4 inch depth on this hopping foot here. And in combination with my ruler for long arm rulers, that is a 1/4 inch, it butts up right against there flush, and it isn't so skinny that it wants to pop up and hit my needle. It does happen once in a while. You may chip it. I have done it in the past. Hopefully, if you're going slow enough and you're careful enough, that won't be an issue. One of the things that you want to do is mark your first straight line that you're going to be doing. So I actually quilted a few lines here. I was testing the tension before, and then I have a good straight line base to go off of. With the straight line quilting for modern quilting on the sit down George, one of the things that I do is work in one direction for the most part. And I do that because I prefer to push from the front to the back when I'm working on the ruler. If I'm pulling from this way, I do not have as much control as when I'm pushing this way, just because of the mechanics of how you're pushing and pulling the fabric. The other thing you would want to do is you would want to make sure that your ruler is marked off somehow on here where you want it to be as far as width. And you have to remember, wherever you mark this to from the edge, you need to add a 1/4 inch, because there's a 1/4 inch from the outside of your hopping foot to the center where your needle is going up and down. So right now I have it set at 3/4 inch on here, is this line right here, which means that there's 1, 2, 1/2 inch here, plus it's taking into account that 1/4 inch that goes to here, because again, this is a long arm ruler and they do know that there's that 1/4 inch. One of the things you can do if you want a specific amount that's custom is actually take a piece of painter's tape and put it across, measured out where you need it to be. So if you need 1 inch, 1.5 inches, whatever you need, go in that far minus that 1/4 inch. So here I'm going to show you, I have my first line sewed on. I'm just going to use this 3/4 inch mark that they have on the ruler already. And you're going to go fairly slow, and you're going to put pressure down on this left hand as well as the right, because you need to keep this ruler down and from slipping around. I do have sticky pads on the back to help aid in that. So I'll show you what you do. You want to go slow enough that you're able to pay attention to whether or not this is staying lined up with that marker that you have. And say you've come down a long ways and you're coming down towards the end of your ruler, you obviously need to slow down, stop, slide your ruler down, check in back and in the front, and make sure that you're still lining up with that line that's underneath, and continue on. Now, what I would actually do for a quilt is actually bring my needle back up, pull the quilt all the way back through, mark out where I will need my needle to go down, which will be lined up here, put my needle down, pull my bobbin thread up, situate the ruler back down, pop that needle down. I'm going to take a few stitches here, and then I'm going to continue on again. I'll try to move my hand to make sure that I'm getting it the full picture. I don't like to hold too far back because that's when your ruler can pop, but just for the video, normally I would have my hands much further up on here like this to make sure that the pressure is keeping it down where the needle is. And as you can see, we have straight lines coming across the quilt. So have no fear. If you want to do your modern quilting and get your straight lines in, you can do it with the George. No problem at all. Have a great day.